Welcome to the On Main Street podcast, where you'll meet some of the area's leading minds. These community leaders and business owners are ready to share their journeys of success, failures, and what it takes to reach your full potential.
We're your hosts, Kelly Baith
and Brady Lindquist, and in this episode we had the pleasure of sitting down with Dean Adelman, an entrepreneur who has built successful businesses as well as inventing multiple products, his most recent being in the fitness space. Dean has a wealth of knowledge to share, so let's get right into the interview. First things first, we want to thank you for coming on the podcast. We appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Just get started off. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How about maybe where you were born and raised?
Sure. My name is Dean Adelman. I'm from western Minnesota. Grew up on the farm near Ortonville, Minnesota, and come from a big family of 11 kids.
Ortonville, really?
Ortonville, Minnesota.
I
actually went to school at Bellingham, Minnesota.
Did you really?
Yes.
Well, how about, isn't a Big Stone Lake out there?
Big Stone, yeah, between Ortonville and Big Stone, South Dakota.
I used to ski out there for corn days or whatever.
Oh, yeah. They still have that in July, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay, so then how did you make your way to New London?
That'd be a pretty long venture. I would say my ex-wife moved out here, and my kids moved out here approximately 9 years ago.
So were you all out west, or were you somewhere? Or were you in the cities or something?
I was in the cities prior
Okay.
to coming out here.
Well, let's get into businesses.
Okay.
Kind of your first business venture and...
Well, a little bit about my background. I grew up in the farm again. I didn't know really what I wanted to go. I didn't really come from an entrepreneurial family, but a very driven family. Didn't know what I wanted to go to, so I went to 3 schools. I went for marketing, sales, and business. And after college, I ended up going back to St. Cloud Tech for plumbing.
So were you going to St. Cloud for those degrees though too?
I did not. I went to Alexandria for sales.
Okay.
Moorhead, Wilmer Community College, or vocational college,
Okay.
and then I went back, and I'm looking in the paper and think, God, them plumbers, electricians, they make good money. And I'm like your typical kid where I didn't know if I really wanted to be a plumber.
Yeah, right.
But I got into the plumbing business, and I looked at it differently. I thought, I'm not a plumber. I'm in the people business. I love it because I'm dealing with people, and that's where it started. And I started that company 23 years ago, and now 70 plus employees, and here I am today. That's one of my business.
Is it Dean's Plumbing or Dean's Professional?
It was Dean's Professional Plumbing, and then we got into heating, air, drains, and electrical. So we're everything, and we're a 100% service company.
Okay. And that's down Maple Grove area. We see your mug on billboards down there, right?
Yes.
Is that where it is?
It's based in Maple Grove.
Okay.
I have a location there, but I have a couple locations. And our guys are all over the city metro area.
Yeah.
So again, we're a service. We don't deal with any new housing, no remodels. We deal with homeowners.
Okay.
They have a broken down water heater, toilet, furnace, emergency. That's what we do. So we're a very demand business, which is great. It never will go away. Never go away.
Yeah, right. So how old were you when you started that business?
I was 26 when I started that company. That was a very interesting time too. So when I started that company, I was in plan. When I got into the plumbing business, I looked at it and go, I'm not in the plumbing business. I'm in the people business. I'm selling something that they need.
How involved are you in the day-to-day functions of that office or the business basically right now?
I'm not at all. I stepped away from the company 4 years ago. I got into inventing a product in the heating industry, and I patent developed it. It took me 5 years to develop it, and I licensed that product off. And so at that time, I totally stepped out of the company and worked on that business, and that got me to where I am now, starting another company.
So is this the Radiant Green or what?
Correct.
What
I
is
had
this
a
now?
company. It was called Radiant Green Flooring. It was an in-floor heating product. And at that time, we took it to market, and it was all over. There was only one other product like it, and now there's lots of them. And I have nothing to do with it anymore, but I do get royalties.
Okay, before we get too far now, let's go back so I see a pattern. you're thinking about the plumbing, but then you don't want to do the actual plumbing. You kind of want to, I just see the kind of entrepreneurial side of you starting to come out, and all of a sudden you get the business going, and so then you get into the in-floor heat, and now you start thinking of another invention. When was it that you knew maybe you had this entrepreneurial skill or focus? Or
I really didn't realize I had more of a creative mind in inventing products, and I've been so busy working on my business. I started developing a product with my brother, and he's an engineer by trade.
Okay.
And we developed this product, and that was when I thought, you know what? I really think like an engineer, even though I'm very resourceful and I have a business mind and a marketing mind. So I took that company, I took what I've always done in the past, and I turned it into inventing products. And I learned a lot through developing that product.
I bet that first one had to be interesting.
It was very challenging. I learned a lot. I learned you need very large margins. And it takes a lot of money to take a product to market and not only develop it, but then you need a whole nother process of marketing and getting, if it's a global product or if you can take it across the country.
Yeah, sure. Shipping and all those things are
correct.
Big challenges.
Can you think back to, is this 2007, 2008?
This was roughly 2007, 2008 in them years.
Okay.
I needed to get rid of the company at that point just because I realized the margins weren't large enough. If I would have kept it going, the more I sold, the more I lost because my margins weren't large enough. But for some companies, if they could stick it in their book of goods, they could take it on, and that's what I did. I found 2 companies, and I licensed it to very large companies, and now it's all over the country.
That's awesome. And no, that's when I met you. So when you came back to look for some land here. That's when I met you. So I remember you kind of going through that. So that's kind of fun to see a little bit of that history. And then you kind of turned the corner. Before you knew it, you were coming up with something else. So tell us about, you want to get to the GETTFITT?
Yeah. So I've always been in fitness my whole entire life. Played football sports. Football, basketball, it was in the bodybuilding. And then the reason I built the sports facility out in New London Spicer for my kids, it was always kind of a goal of mine.
Yep.
And then I had an idea years and years ago. I couldn't understand with a treadmill, how come you can't get an upper body workout while you're doing cardio on your treadmill? And I just didn't understand it. Well, when I got rid of my other company, I stepped out of Dean's. I needed something to do.
Okay.
And so I started really digging into it. We did a worldwide patent search across the country. There was nothing like it. I really dug into the details. So I took this idea from a scratch on a piece of paper and did all the research. I did the background, how big the treadmill industry is. The treadmill industry is the #1 fitness product in the country. I took that, and 2.5 years I developed it. We're in full production, and it gets shipped right to Amazon. And last year, to give you an idea how big the market is, there was 63 million treadmills sold globally.
That's
and
crazy.
There's nobody that has anything like it. So
explain to the listeners. They might not know what we're really talking about here. Explain the product.
Well, the product, the company is called GETTFITT Products. The product itself is called TreadFit. So it's a treadmill attachment that'll attach to any treadmill. It attaches to the arms of the treadmill, and you can work out with multiple levels of resistance bands.
Okay.
So you can get your upper body workout in, and it's just super fast. If you want a 10-minute workout, you're always working out your upper body while you're walking. You can walk fast. You can do it with a really slow jog.
Okay.
But believe it or not, it's the workouts are incredible. It consistently burns 20 to 40% more calories than just walking.
Okay.
And so now we really have a good strategy of taking it. We're at Amazon right now, and then we're going to keep going with it. And I believe within the next year and a half, we'll be global.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're going to scale it, and I have some really good partners I'm working with.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
GETTFITT.com, right? Two T's on both?
Yep. GETTFITT.com.
There we go. Okay.
GETTFITT.com. And TreadFit is spelled TreadFitt. So again, there's some logic behind all this.
Sure.
I have more products in the
I was
pipeline.
gonna say it says products.
Yeah.
So
It didn't just start with. It started as Treadmill Total Fit.
okay.
And then people couldn't remember that name. And then everything when you develop something, it comes with it evolves, and it's not that easy. You really don't know where you're going. You just keep working, and then you start to figure out putting the pieces together. And yet, what I have today, which is a phenomenal product, it sells online for $99. I mean, you can't beat it. What it maybe will look like in 3 years might be altogether different.
Yeah.
But the concept is the same concept. Treadmill's been around since 1960, and no one's developed a product that you can work out your upper body. So pretty excited about it.
That's cool.
It's cool.
It couldn't have been easy, though. Tell us, I mean, what were some of the pitfalls or struggles? There were probably plenty.
There's a lot of money. You got to do a lot of the homework yourself, because if you give it off to an engineer, they don't see the concept, even though you'll just burn up thousands and thousands of dollars going down a direction you don't even know. But if you gotta take piece. I don't know really how to understand it unless you're an engineer. I connect really, really well with engineers, so they really understand the concept and go. Because now, 3 years later, I meet with engineers, and I work with about a dozen. I call them engineers, some fabricators. I did a lot of fabricating with fabrication shops around New London Spicer, all the way from New London Spicer to Alexandria to Avon to Painesville, and so you get some really, really good ones, and then you'll get some, even though they're engineers and they don't see the concept you do. So for me, I'm really good at finding the right people and then driving it. So I'm instrumental in where I want to go with it.
Sure. Well, how many different iterations of this have you had to go through as far as product development?
I have about 5 iterations, and it's a whole lot of junk metal you might see. I got right now 3, like I said, about 3.5 years later.
Sure.
I have focused all of my time on this. I'm not focused on Dean's. This is all I've done for 3.5 years. And now, knowing that I know a lot of engineers, they really say, wow, that's incredible, really, because they know what goes into it, because it really takes a lot.
And this product will work on basically any treadmill, right?
Right. I would say it works on 99% of them.
Okay.
It works on majority of all of them. There's some from the past that it might not work
Maybe
on, so I can
school,
say, it doesn't work on 100% of them, because it won't. There'll be some that it just doesn't work on.
Sure. But majority, major brands and stuff. If someone's thinking about starting a business or maybe creating a product, what advice would you have for them getting started, maybe pushing them to that next level to actually start something?
There's a lot of resources out there online now that you can go to and dig into it and ask them questions. There's entrepreneur.com. There's just lots when you start digging around on Facebook and websites. And I would suggest, like anyone, I would suggest get a mentor. And sometimes when you're young, you don't even realize he's a mentor. I bring this up a lot. I have one mentor. I didn't realize it at the time he was really a mentor. He was just talking, and I was wired enough to really take it in and listen to him. And for some people, because I was wired that way, and I didn't even realize I was wired that way at the time, but I was always intrigued with what he said, because he told me a lot of unique things. Well, here, 30 years later, I think he was my biggest mentor ever. So find a mentor. There's sites like, for people that don't want to spend money, there's scores.com. It's or scores.org. There's a lot of them around, and people, when they get to a place, when they can start giving back, love to tell their story.
Sure.
They just love to tell their story if they have the time. So if you start talking to some older, and because when they're old, you have tons of knowledge, just soak it in. Because if we have time, we love to tell our stories. So don't be afraid to ask them. That isn't every personality. There's different personalities, I always say. But if there's any one thing I can tell anybody and I love to tell my story to younger people when I have the time, because I love to give back. Here's another thing I tell young kids. A great book. I was just telling somebody this weekend, as a matter of fact, at a sporting event, I said, somebody gave me this a long time ago, and they give me a book by Earl Nightingale and said it's called The Strangest Secret. And they talk about men, but it's really, you can use it whatever you're great at, be the best. I don't care. Everyone's wired different. If you want to be a great salesman, if you want to be a great teacher, if you want to, be the best wife, you have to live and breathe it.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, I live and breathe business.
Yeah.
But you have to live and breathe it.
Yeah.
And I love to tell that story because somebody told me that, and it was like, I've this Earl Nightingale has a lot of books like that. He's passed away now, but it's pretty cool. So that's one thing I tell a lot of people. It's free. Go listen to it. Go listen to it on Audible.
Yeah, what's your typical day like? I mean, do you get up early? What's the first thing you do?
I do. I get up early, typically up by 6:30, 7-ish. I'm always taking notes. I usually work a few hours through the night, if not 2 or 3. I get on my computer and just research. That's kind of my quiet time where I can just check out from everyone else is sleeping, so my phone doesn't ding. In the morning, 6:30, 7, I'll get up and maybe work out, and then go get my coffee, and then I'm on to getting back on the computer. I'm on the phone a lot. I travel. I live in the metro area, Maple Grove, so I'm back and forth. Just to give you an idea, in the last 8 months, I got 43,000 miles on my vehicle, so I drive back and forth a lot. But I enjoy it because I'm always on the phone, and I think best on the driving. Yeah, that's just my deal. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not managing people anymore like that because you need to almost be with them. But at least I'm on the phone. I let them know I'm there. I'm talking to people. I'm just whatever's going on. And if I need to pull over, which I do, probably sometimes it'll take me 5 hours to get to the cities because I pull over twice just to send an email because I'm thinking about it. Mm-hmm. But it works for me, and it's great. It's a lot of freedom.
I love getting my coffee and driving to work, and I'll see Dean sitting at the country stop in his car, sitting out downtown New London.
Yeah, I see Kelly. Yeah. I just got and I'm sitting there on my iPad right before I get my coffee or after, because I'm always thinking whether I'm driving away and then I stop and I'm thinking about this, and then I'll get my coffee and then get back in my vehicle, and then the phone will ring, or I'm back on my iPad, or whatever the case might be. But
that's great, though. That is cool. I mean, that's really how it's done. That's
it really is. And I know a lot of business people now. I've definitely, it works for me. It really works for me. I have a unique life that way because but I've been very, very involved with my kids, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And my kids don't ever think I work. But I'm always working. They go, "What are you doing? Just drive around all day?" No, I'm working. So it works for me, and it always has, and it works great.
So you've been around the area for about a decade.
Yeah.
What is kind of your favorite part of our community?
Well, I really love the small town feel. I'm part of the football program, very involved with that. The basketball, I've donated. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the city, especially in Maple Grove, but I don't really know them. They don't slow down to talk to me other than if it's at the local tavern bar. Mm-hmm. So it's been really cool. I'm part of the grounds crew, and I have been as long as I've been out here. I got involved really early, which is really cool. I thought, man, and so they just thought, well, how do you come out here, all the way out here all the time? But it was nothing to me, and now it's kind of the norm. But that I've really, really enjoyed.
Tell the listeners what grounds crew is.
The grounds crew, it's the football crew, the parents, and it's a great thing. I mean, a lot of them don't get involved, but there's so much to do. You don't think there's much to do, but they help out with putting up the fence, putting up the signs, mowing, just whoever needs help in the area too. And 60, 80 people, and it's a great organization. I mean, and then afterwards, we would get together and talk.
Go have a team meeting at somebody's place and recap the night.
It's great bonding, and you really get to know what people do. And we talk a little bit about the football game, but that's not really what it's about. It's just the bonding. But I would suggest if anybody, business person, is in the area and wants to connect with people over here, that is the way to do it. And you find out what people do. Otherwise, they leave and you don't know what they do.
Yeah. So you built that. Let's talk about that shed real quick. It's not even a shed. It's kind of like I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like a house slash
it's like a
athletic
mini sports facility.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's kind of what I call it now. Kind of a dream of mine. I just didn't know where it was going to go, and I wanted to build this place so my kids could use it because gyms are full all over. So I built it, kind of laid it out so it had some living space in it. So when I come out here, I had a place to stay. I got up to 3-quarter basketball court with a shooting machine with weights and, just for kids to hang out and do something active rather than go get in trouble. Not that a lot of kids use it, but I coached at first. And then they really used it when they were small. And it's been awesome. I've been trying to decide what am I going to do with this, but now I'm going to start renting it out to basketball, groups, or maybe if they want a wedding, it's 5 acres and it's 7,000 square feet and it's beautiful scenery. So that's what I plan on doing with it here. And
neat place.
Having the website built right now, and I'm sure it'll fill up.
Yeah, cool.
Is there anything we haven't asked you that you'd like to mention?
What's something we don't know about, Dean? What?
I was literally in life when I was young. I was just going 100 miles an hour, but I was getting into trouble. And so I put all my effort into sports that time. And then when I thought I need to, rather than go left, I got to figure out my life and go right, which I was at about 8th grade. And I stuck all my efforts into sports. Well, then when sports were kind of wrapping up, I stuck all my energy, obviously, into business. So any kid, just if you have problems, reach out to somebody and, don't go down the wrong path, because once you go down the wrong path, it's tough to turn it around. And that's really what I did. Everybody goes, and I have no problem talking about it, because I got into some trouble, not where I couldn't turn it around, but I was going down the left path when I would have went much further. I could have really kept going down that. Instead, I turned it to the right and really made something of myself. So it's a pretty cool story, and I love to kind of tell it now, and we laugh about it now as my family. But they said, "Oh, you have 9 lives, and I think you're on 9.9. They're used up."
Was there a big turning point, or how did you just say, "Okay, that I'm not going that way anymore"? Did somebody help you, or what? Or
no, it was just me. I actually, when I was in 6th grade, I stole a car and I took it for a ride, and I burned the tires up, but I set it back in the same spot. So I really didn't.
Returned it.
I returned it. I dropped my billfold in the car, and the next morning when I was doing chores, I didn't know where I dropped it, but I knew I'd lost it somewhere, and I'm like, "Oh, God,
yeah,
in the car." And so the next morning. And the next day, I was in my barn with my dad, and the sheriff showed up. Oh. And I thought to myself, I got to change my life. And that's what kind of trouble I got into.
Okay.
So that's just one story. But that's a pretty good story. Yeah. And literally, it was like, okay, that was a turning point. It's like, where are you going?
You can't be doing that.
You can't be doing that. And it was starting to snowball. And now I like to tell people, and I've had employees steal from me. I go, you know what? I will help you out, but you need to help yourself. And I love to help them out, because I believe everybody needs a second chance. I got a second chance but I kind of did it on my own. But so my life is totally different now. And I think I bring up with anybody, I said, you know what? I'll use speeding for an example. I said, you may not get caught speeding today or tomorrow, but you will get caught if you keep speeding enough.
Eventually, yeah.
You will get caught. It's like stealing. You may not get caught today or tomorrow, but you will get caught. So, it's like business. Yeah. If you do enough businesses, you will be successful.
Yeah,
sure.
So it's kind of the same thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
I was just going to ask, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, I'll tell you what, if they want to find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn under Dean Adelman, and I'm under LinkedIn under GETTFITT. You can see what I've done. Also, on Facebook, Dean Adelman. My other companies are on there too, but they're all connected.
I just want to thank you for taking time to sit down with us and tell your story. Yeah, we're lucky to have you in the community.
Yes, well, thanks for having me. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed it.
It was fun.
And we want to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with us. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to us if you would subscribe and leave a review. The On Main Street podcast is a bi-weekly show brought to you by New London Real Estate.